Baruchim habaim. Welcome, shalom. This is Awakening TORAH Mussar Mindfulness. I am Rabbi Chasya Uriel Steinbauer, the founder and director of the Institute for Holiness, Kehilat Mussar Mindfulness. I'm delighted that you've decided to join us by live stream on Zoom, joining us from kehilatmussar.com, or where we are live streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you may be joining us. You can also find us at our YouTube channel. Please subscribe, and do subscribe to our newsletter at the website. Today, Bezrat Hashem, thank God, is here in Israel, where we are located, Thursday, June 6th, almost at 4 in the morning here. You may be wondering, why is the rabbi up so early? Well, I've been up actually throughout the night. I teach people from all over the world, and so I have to be up sometimes in the middle of the night to teach and have certain sessions. So no need to worry about me. So welcome from wherever you are. The Hebrew date today, hopefully you're also counting the Omer, is the 29th of ER. So Koftet, and it's Tafshin Pei Daled 5784. We are going to be entering BEHAR, which we covered 2 weeks ago on May 25th, 2024. And the Hebrew date was Yud Zion, the 17th of the month of ER. We're almost at the end of ER. We'll be entering Bezrat Hashem, the new moon of Sivan, actually starting tonight, later. So we need to cover BEHAR and Bachukotai, which are the last two Torah portions in the book of Vayikra, Leviticus. So today we'll cover BEHAR, and Bezrat Hashem will cover Bachukotai. We'll be caught up to enter the next book together. Looking forward to entering Bamidbar, Numbers. So before we begin, as usual, we always start with our kavanot, our intentions for today's session. So Bezrat Hashem, God willing, you can see these kavanot if you are watching by video and you have vision. If you are joining us on audio podcasts, then you'll hear me read these and cover them as I do every week. So we see this time during Awakening TORAH Mussar Mindfulness, this weekly public offering on behalf of the Institute for Holiness, that this is a time for radical self-care, for us to engage in learning and practice together so that we can strengthen our own souls. It's Hashem, God willing. In order to, it's always for the benefit of others, right? To bear the burden with others. This is the central thesis, the mission statement of the path of Mussar Mindfulness. We're also doing this on behalf of others to strengthen our relationship with them so we can be a better conduit of God's good when they need us. And of course, we're also strengthening our relationship with the divine, however we define that relationship or God, that we be a better conduit of God's good to the world, to whatever is needed. So may we merit this today as we cover BEHAR. So as if you've been following all year, I can't think off the top of my head what number we are on sitting. I think it might be on 32. Let's take a quick look. 30, maybe 31. No, it has to be later than that, right? Because the Kiddushim was 30. Okay, so we're in the 30s, so whatever sitting we are in. So if you've been following all along since we began this year of the 5784 of the Hebrew year, you knew that we were dedicating this year of awakening to the coping with, and for some, the recovery and healing from the genocide of October 7th in Israel by Iran, Qatar, Hamas, Palestinian terrorists who committed genocide in Israel. And the ongoing war, the kidnapping and stealing and holding as captives so many people from our lands, and the ongoing onslaught, obviously, right, from 8 different directions, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, Iran, you name it, this ongoing war. It really is survival and really tapping into this path to see how can we strengthen one another? How can we strengthen our own soul to get by and to support one another and to bring God's good? So this is what this is called, dedicated to. So how do we do that? We jump into the weekly Torah portion to find out what our ancestors and God wanted us to learn from this Torah portion. As you know, Jews, really, we cover the Torah year by year, and every year we find something new, informative, insightful, important to our lives in the moment to address where we are. If it wasn't this living body, right? This living body of not only tradition, but literature of something, such an important volume passed down to us, we wouldn't do this every year if there wasn't meaning making and purpose to the whole project. So you on this journey with me, if you're following along, and hopefully you've already read through Bahar, Parshat Bahar. It is located in Leviticus chapter 25, verse 1 through 26, verse 2. It's actually extremely short parsha. And the reason is it normally is positioned together with Bechuchotai. Okay, they go together. But because we have the year where we have 2 Adars, and they get split up this year. So that is what we are covering. So I'm going to give you a summary of what's going on in this Torah portion. And then we're going to kind of hone in on something that relates to us today to deal with this coping and recovery. And of course, we'll engage in our mindfulness meditation practice to really engage in embodied practice to move the teachings and have them really inform us, okay? So this is let's start with the summary. So I want to say that this is really about the principles of land tenure. And chapter 25 of Leviticus is the only code of practice on the subject of land tenure in ancient Israel that is actually preserved in the Torah. Our ancestors and God felt this was important, to really hold this code of the practice of the subject of land tenure, okay? This unique collection of laws and commandments, it governs the permanent rights of landowners and the legalities of sales and mortgaging of Israel, of the land of Israel. The laws also regard I can't even say this in English, indebtedness, to be in debt, right? Indebtedness, and indenture, a system of repaying debts through one's labors. So in chapter 25, the 7th year, when the fields are to lie fallow, it's called the sabbatical year, okay, Shemitah. And after the cycle of 7 sabbatical years, every half century, known as the Yuval, there is to be in English what is called the Jubilee year. So the basic biblical theory of land tenure as expressed best in verses 23 and 24. But the land must not be sold beyond reclaim. For the land is mine. This is Hashem speaking in the Torah. Hashem is saying, the land is mine. You are but stranger residents with me. Throughout the land that you hold, you must provide for the redemption of the land. This is a foundational principle of Judaism and what we offer to the world. I think BEHAR is one of the most profound Torah portions and gifts to humanity. The earth, the land of Israel belong to God, right? You might buy land in the land of Israel in the Torah, but it is never fully your property, even if there's like private land ownership. Okay? The idea is expressed and really lived through the embodiment and observance of and practice of a few different mitzvot. The Shemitah, as I mentioned, the year of release, happens every 7 years. During a Shemitah year, no one can work the land, and crops become public property, meaning everybody owns the land and has access to it. Anyone can come and eat. The Yuval, right? Or the Yovel. The Yovel is the 50th year. Right? When we said 7 cycles of the Shemitah. Should remind you of what we're in right now, right? We have the 7 weeks of counting the Omer from the second day of Passover, Pesach, to Shavuot, which is coming up next week. Okay, we have this in our tradition, these kind of 7 cycles leading to the 50th day for Shavuot and leading to the 50th year of the Yovel. In this year, in this time of the Yovel, all the land gets returned to the original owners. A person who is having land or money trouble might have to sell their own farm or land or home. And during the Yovel, they actually get it back. And one doesn't actually have to wait for the Yovel. Their relatives, their clan, should come and help them buy back the land or the farm or whatever it might be as soon as possible in a process called Geulah, redemption. The person who bought or seized their land must be prepared to sell it back for a fair price. There's also a mitzvah not to overcharge for a sale. If someone is in debt, you must treat them with compassion. So just to discuss this a little bit more in depth as to get some background here, is that this fundamental tenet that the land of Canaan belongs to God, right? Who's only granted it to our ancestors, the Israelites, as an achuzah, right? A tenured land holding. It's not ours to dispose of as we wish. It could not be permanently alienated, right? And there's something really profound here. So one is really a submission to and a radical acceptance that there is a creator, and the creator is the ruler and the one who actually controls and has the land. Shabbat also teaches us that, the Sabbath. But in addition to this, God is teaching, and our ancestors are reminding us that should one of our people during that time become so impoverished or in debt that they had to sell the land, say there was a famine and they were just not producing the farm and they couldn't afford to hold the farm, so they sold it, that everyone in that clan is supposed to try to come and help get that land back. And if for some reason, say it ended up being bought by another Jew, and the family at the time or the clan could not help get the land back, that God and our ancestors, following God's laws and rules, really instituted this yov to say that whoever bought it, it's not permanently yours. You have to always remember that this is really God's land, and you can't cause people to be forever in debt and indebted to you and landless, that it must always return. Because people who are in debt all the time, or are indentured servants, or are landless, it leads to cycles of poverty that generation after generation do not get out. And we know this. God came, and our ancestors came and said, this is so important that we're going to include this only code of practice on the subject of land tenure and ancient Israel. It'll be preserved in our Torah to pass down, so that you know how important this is. So, I think the final thing I want to add as just a summary is that land tenure is at the heart of this chapter and this Torah portion, BEHAR, right? And we have in other sections in Deuteronomy and Exodus, for instance, that does release indentured servants every 7 years, not 50. And but regardless, if you end up following or emphasizing Deuteronomy and Exodus versus where we are now in Leviticus and Vayikra, okay, is that these are primarily concerned with the alleviation of poverty, right? It makes sure, even if you go to the 50th year, that relief was always coming. That God had made sure that when God brought us out of the land of Egypt, that we were never forever going to be indentured or in slavery, or have to work someone else's land that used to be ours, and then that they temporarily own it. That there will always be a release, because we truly are servants to God. We're not servants to some other landowner that might even be temporarily holding our land. We're not servants to Egypt, right? This is really, really important. And this has helped liberation movements throughout millennia, right? This idea to know that there's one God, that God cares deeply about all of us, that we not be forever an indentured servant or in slavery or landless, right? This is so important to get, so that relief is coming. It is really part of that, rendering sales and mortgages of land conditional and limited duration, right? Guaranteeing the right of retrieval by the original owners. That debilitating, actually, like just humiliating and degrading process of disenfranchisement, poverty could be stemmed. This is radical. This is radical that we're having this code was put in here and has been maintained. I love this Torah portion. I just smile every year that I read this. Okay, so what you might be thinking? Okay, that's beautiful, and what does this? What does this have to do to help us today in our recovery and healing from the genocide of October 7th and the ongoing wars? Right? Where's the strength in here? There's some really profound teachings here. Okay, so first is that the Torah is a code of law. is aimed at ensuring justice, equity, and happiness for all those who follow it. It sought to avoid the concentration of land, the source of wealth and life, vitality, and power in the hands of only a few. This reduces poverty and domination by human, and I might even venture to say man by man, but human by humans, right? And so what does this have to, what does this part of this do to us today? We must remember, it's central to that our ancestors wanted to pass to us, is that essential of our path and practice on this path of Mussar mindfulness, that we ensure justice, equity, joy, simcha in this path, right? And that we never cause undue, right? That isn't necessary harm and suffering, and that it be the ability to live pain-free, suffering-free, right? Should only be in the hands of the few. We must remember that all of us are a clan, are a family, are an am, and all our allies, and that we're here to learn from both Shemitah and Yovel, this beautiful BEHAR, that we must care for one another and show up to redeem one another. It's as if when Hamas and Palestinian supporters and terrorists kidnapped our people, for instance, and it's not just the Jews, it's over 25 different nationalities, right? Kidnapped the people who were residing in and having joy and equity and justice, living in the land of and Medinat Israel, in the state of Israel, right? When they were taken, immediately, we are that clan that must redeem them, that must come, right? We're not going to wait, obviously, 7 years or 50 years. This is the model to say, no, 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 no. This is God's land, and Hamas and Palestinian terrorists and Qatar and Iran, you entered God's land. You stole from God. You stole God's people. And now you're burning God's land in the north, Hezbollah. This is a crime not only against humanity, but a crime against God and God's land. And we are going to unite as we have and continue to with our allies and really redeem and support one another. We have an unbelievable amount of people who are refugees within our own land right now because they can't be in their homes in the north, which is on fire. They can't be in their homes along the Gaza envelope because of the genocide and the aftermath. Some people can't even be around down in Eilat because of the Houthis and their craziness. All these people are refugees within the country, are displaced. Thank God we've been able to provide temporary housing for them. But this form of temporary housing is a form of servitude, is a form of indentured servitude, is a form of what BEHAR came along with the gift of our ancestors and God to come and say, you must not allow this state to go on. You must redeem your people. So I'm putting a call out to all of us today to unite, to organize, to do everything we can to fight and stop that war with Hezbollah in the north, to stop them from burning God's land, ruining the people's homes and businesses up there, right? To rebuild in the whole Gaza envelope, right? To help get these people back to their homes because they deserve it, because they don't deserve, right? They shouldn't be in a cycle of eventually what's going to be not only poverty of the soul, It's going to end up being poverty of their livelihood, right? They've had to leave their jobs. They've had to leave their security of their home, what was sacred and safe. So much lost. The same thing happens, right? When someone is so impoverished that they have to sell their land to someone. So we unite with all of our allies and everyone, fight these wars, end this enemy's terrorizing of God's land and of us, and bring the people back to their homes, help rebuild. This is so important. And this is what the heart is coming to teach us, right? This is so important. Even if you look at Vayikra Rabbah, okay, let's just look quickly at Vayikra Rabbah. When it talks about, right, Ki yamuch achicha, it takes from the pasuk, the verse from Vayikra 25:35. If your family member becomes poor, right? This is from our Torah portion, right? Hadafu diktiv, as it is connected to what is written. Ashrei maskil el dal, right? Happy is a person who acts wisely toward the poor. This is from Tehillah 41:2. So Rav Yonah comes and he says, Ashrei noten ledal ein ketiv kan. Happy is the one who gives to the poor. It does not say happy is the one who gives to the poor. So that would be like us giving tzedakah, giving food, temporary housing to our beloved people who are refugees within Israel, right? Who are displaced. Instead, Rav Yonah says, what must you do? But what is it? Ela, ashrei maskil el dal, is the one who acts wisely, uses maskil, like uses intelligence, wisdom, right, toward the poor. Right, this is what's so important. And this wisdom, we must strengthen them, right? We must give on their terms and what they need. We must bring them out of a cycle of spiritual and housing and employment poverty, which is a whole cycle and the whole thing that happens when there's a genocide and a war, right? So this is very profound. We must engage in Geula, this redemption. And so I'm really putting this call out to all of us that we support our brethren, remind ourselves constantly this is God's land and God is our creator and the ruler and really in control of all. And always remember the common humanity, right? That our people and those who dwell within our lands are suffering, and that helps us all cope with our suffering, right? We know that all of us are suffering, and brings great compassion that we act on each other's behalf to treat each other wisely on the terms that we need to strengthen each other. So in addition to all the beautiful tzedakah that you give, the meals, the housing, the showing up to bring joy to the people who are refugees, who are displaced within our land, let's fight these wars and defeat the enemy and rebuild and get these people home for a true yovel, right? A true redemption, geula, right? May it be so. Let's enter our mindfulness meditation practice together. Thank you. Assume your posture that you need to enter meditation. I'm going to sit on the edge of my seat. You're welcome to sit on a zafu, a meditation cushion, walk back and forth, going nowhere in particular, standing in a strong mountain pose, or even lying down. Keep the eyes open if you have vision to remain awake and alert. For the rest of us, I invite you to close your eyes if you have vision, to allow you to really listen to and draw your awareness to the experience within. If you don't feel safe and comfortable, then keep the eyes open, but lower your gaze to cut out any visual distractions. Okay. So you want to come to an upright position, one where you feel dignified. You are created in the image and likeness of the divine, so you should feel that in your posture. Allow your hands to rest wherever it's comfortable. And allow a deep inhalation, God's gift of oxygen to us. Inhale and exhale. And inhalation and exhale. This next time, raise your shoulders up with the inhalation. And then let them lower with the exhale. Allow yourself to giggle, release that energy, release any tension. The gift of really fully arriving here with me. Knowing that all of us from all over the world are sitting here meditating together now, engaging in this weekly practice together. What a gift, what a blessing. As we say in Hakarat Tov, the wonderful Midah, the soul trait of gratitude, of recognizing the good before us. May we recognize that good right now. Thank God for this path and practice. Okay, allowing your breath to just fall to its own natural rhythm, fully inviting yourself here as you would a best friend if you're not here, meaning your body might be here in the meditation, but your thoughts might be running off, ruminating over something that happened in the past, maybe planning for something in the future. Allow yourself to be here with my voice as your anchor, your breath as your anchor, sensations in the body as your anchor. Really feeling the heaviness of your sit bones if you are seated. This will help ground you. Knowing that you are between heaven and earth being held right now. Today, we cultivate presence and awareness with each of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. The body, feeling tones, mind states, and dhammas, the significant mental qualities. Allow your posture to be a marriage of wakefulness and softness. Our posture should reflect our deep embodied knowledge of the impermanence of the world, of us in it, and how really the only trust is in Hashem. This deep bitachon, right? It's what Rabbi Milton Steinberg tried to teach when he said, clasp the world, but with relaxed hands. That is us. The chair, the touch of air, the clothing on your skin. Allow these sensations to come alive in those places of contact. Sensations of weight, of pressure, and warmth. Now sensing the landscape of sensation within the body. The pleasant, the unpleasant. Those sensations that have a quieter tone of being neither pleasant nor unpleasant. This practice of developing and cultivating the use of feeling tones really assists us in coping with, in healing and recovery from this genocide and during this war, to be able to label what is pleasant as pleasant, what is unpleasant as unpleasant, and what is simply neutral. So we can pull out of reactivity. Mindful of the body sitting. Mindful of the body sensing. Mindful of the body listening. Mindful of the body breathing. The breath breathing itself. Sensing the spectrum of feeling tones present within the body just now. Sensations that have a pleasant feeling tone. Where do you feel pleasant in your body right now? Sounds that may have a pleasant feeling tone. Perhaps my voice is pleasant. Sensations that have an unpleasant feeling tone. Where are you feeling unpleasant? Sounds that might have an unpleasant feeling tone. Bringing an affectionate curiosity to know what is going on right here and right now in this present moment. Affectionate curiosity, what we call the beginner's mind. Throughout your day, later on, through your week, throughout this war and recovery, you notice reactivity starting to arise. Tap into your practice of the feeling tones. Oh, that's pleasant. That's unpleasant. This is neutral. This is impermanent. This too shall pass. Widening the field of your mindfulness, your awareness, just to attune yourself to whatever mood, whatever state of mind is present just now. What is the climate of your mind, heart? Is there calmness? Is there agitation? Is there spaciousness? Is there contractedness? Is there dullness present? Is there brightness present? Bringing a simple knowing, a curiosity and interest to the mind of this moment. We might sense if the mood or mind state of the moment is impacting in the body in some way. Body of restlessness, a body of calm, body of peacefulness, a body of agitation. We can tap into this mindfulness practice during the day also. Simply seeing clearly. Simply begin again. Touching the mind of this moment with care, with attention, with curiosity. we might sense whether any veiling patterns, any hindrances or obstacles are present for us right now. Is there craving, wanting for experience to be different? The fantasies, the daydreams. Do you walk around having a movie running through your head, a narrative, a story, not being here in the present moment? That's a way of coping from genocide and during war. Bring a loving, compassionate awareness to that. Is there aversion, the not wanting, the pushing away? I don't want this. I don't want my people kidnapped in tunnels in Gaza. I don't want the North on fire. I don't want these wars. I don't want all this Jew hatred throughout the world. Recognize the aversion. Treat it with such delicate kindness. Is there restlessness and worry present? Rumination, obsession? Is there dullness present? Kind of sloth and torpor of checking out because it's just too much? Does your energy feel deflated and heavy? Bring a mindfulness to that. You notice I'm not saying change any of this. There's nothing wrong with you coping these ways. Bringing a simple, loving, affectionate, kind curiosity to what is present for us right here and right now is enough. That will begin to slowly create a petach, an opening. And finally, is there doubt present? An uncertainty whether this is worthwhile. Nothing harms us more than doubt. It is well known in the practice of the Dharma that doubt is the most serious and difficult of hindrances, of obstacles in our life and in our practice. And this is very true during recovery from genocide in the middle of wars, where you will hear Jewish voice after Jewish voice having deep uncertainty of whether this is worthwhile. Maybe you recognize your own voice in this doubt. No, it is just simply a state that is impermanent and will pass. There's no need for you to hold onto it and identify with it and make it something more than what it is. A hindrance, a state, an energy that has arisen, that is just part of your coping mechanism until you can actually bring more light of mindfulness and awareness. Cultivating the capacity for wakefulness, mindfulness, curiosity, investigation. Cultivating our willingness to be engaged and celebrating the value of that. Even if right now in this meditation with me, you only had 1 minute of that. Kol hakavod. Good for you. You showed up. Cultivating a capacity for collectedness as the stilling and calming in the midst of all of this, in the midst of what is present. Breathing in, calming the agitations. Breathing out, calming the agitations. Breathing in, cultivating easefulness. Breathing out, cultivating easefulness. We will allow ourselves to be in the presence of this wakefulness. Together, taking refuge in this practice, in this path. Taking refuge in your teacher, your teachers. Taking refuge in God. I will ring the bell after a minute of silence. This is the moment that you can begin to slowly open your eyes if they were closed. Doing it so slowly and gently. Allow the light to slowly filter back in, allowing the body to move, to reconnect with the wider space around you. Giving yourself a great bow to Hashem, to God, if this is part of your practice. A bow to Arvad Sangha, this amazing community of the Institute for Holiness, Kehilat Mussar Mindfulness. A bow to our teachers, our ancestors. A bow to this amazing path that we've been gifted. And I feel such a privilege and joy to be able to guide you and share with you. We're going to bring these same qualities of mindfulness and wakefulness, curiosity, stillness into our lives so that we're out doing the Mussar mindfulness work in our daily lives, that we can bring what we do on this chair and cushion together, this practice of mindfulness meditation, to really strengthen us as individuals, as a community, as a people, to cope, to heal, to recover, to get through this, right? So may we merit our original intention of bringing God's good to others, or always remembering our triangle, the threefold of caring for the self, caring for others, and God. Thank you for today. Please join soon for our next parsha. We thank all the wonderful donors for supporting this public offering and for the Institute of Holiness. Reach out with your sponsorship. for these lovely offerings. You can do it in honor of someone or in memory of someone. And we are always deeply grateful for whatever you can give to support. Wishing you all Chodesh Tov coming up tonight, the new moon of Sivan, Rosh Chodesh. We just celebrated Yom Yerushalayim, the wonderful celebration of the reunification of Jerusalem. And Shabbat will be coming, not soon enough. Wishing you all well, and Shabbat Shalom if I don't see you tomorrow.